Well, Tara Parker Pope on health. I carefully unwrapped the lilac-colored tissue paper as my patient watched, expectantly. Given its size and shape, I was pretty sure I knew what was in this package. He was in his late 60s and had been coming to our cancer center for years, first for chemotherapy to treat his lymphoma, then for a bone marrow transplant when the chemotherapy didn't work. Now, cured of his lymphoma, he was in our clinic for the myelodysplastic syndrome that our treatments had caused. His bruised fingers, a consequence of the low platelets resulting from his failed bone marrow, tapped his knees impatiently until I uncovered his present. A tie. I love it. What a beautiful pattern, I exclaimed, holding it up against my shirt. He beamed at me. See? I know you, I know what you like. He almost shouted. I'm touched. Thank you, I told him. He was still grinning. He had just retired as a tailor, and this was his business, knowing men's styles, and making them feel comfortable in their clothes. He had done well and it gave him pleasure, I suspect, to be able to help me. Perhaps I'm in the minority of men, but I appreciate being given ties. My kids get me ties for Father's Day, cliched as that may be. Their taste tends toward bright colors and animals, and I dutifully wear them to work, proudly displaying them to colleagues and patients alike, despite my wife's entreaties to keep an extra, more subdued tie at the office that I could change into. My dad, on the other hand, hated ties. He even declared, on the few occasions I ever actually saw him wear one, that he hoped the man who invented these objects of asphyxiation suffered mightily during his own lifetime. Yet, when my dad died, it was his ties I turned to. After his funeral, I sat on the floor of his closet and sorted through his collection, some decades old, of varied patterns and widths, some still bearing the stains from hurried pasta dinners or cups of coffee. And during the weeks that followed, when I felt as if I roamed the earth unmarred in his absence, I wore his ties to give me strength, and bring me peace. I still do. My patients often comment on my ties. I have one, I think intended for a lawyer, subtly patterned with tiny wolves in sheep's clothing. When a patient notices the gag, I joke that it's probably not what they were hoping for in an oncologist, and they laugh, breaking the tension in the room. Ties can be conversation starters, allowing me and my patients to talk about mundanities, before we launch into the seriousness of cancer. Most patients compliment me on my ties. A few of my patients, all older and more formal in how they approach their doctor's appointments, come dressed to the nines to my clinic, and I make sure to compliment them, too, as they clearly value appearances. But occasionally, someone will make a comment that is vituperative. One patient blurted, as soon as I walked into the clinic room. "Whoa, Doc, that tie is awful. Did you get dressed this morning with the lights off in your bedroom?"